Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week of the Disney Dining Show, coming to you live from various points around Central Florida. This show is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan your next vacation. All that information and more in the description below. Today, I am joined here by Craig Williams,
Oh, hoy, hoy.
Denny Sunderly,
Hi there.
and Sean Falk.
Hey.
So today we're going to talk about AMC Disney Springs. So AMC Dine-In Theatre, more specifically, because this is the Disney Dining Show. I know most of us, if not all of us, have been to this AMC multiple times using the Dine-In Theater. As well, we wanted to talk a little bit about the A-List program and some of the benefits that go into that. So, first off, are you guys all A-List members? I know some of us are.
I'm not.
I'm not, but my husband is, so I know about the program.
Cool.
I am an A-lister.
Yeah. So I've been it got to the point where Haley and I had that like weekly movie night that we had every single week. And basically, if you don't know what A-List is, it's a program that AMC offers. It's about $25 a month, and you can see what feels like unlimited movies. It's not unlimited. It's up to 3 movies per week. So that's going to get you 12 movies a month. It's literally that good. $25 a month is going to get you literally 12 movies a month. It's that crazy. And if you do the math, if you're going at least twice a week, it's going to end up being worth it for you. And it got to that point where, we were making it to the movies at least once a week, or at least twice to 3 times a month. And we were like, you know what? Let's just bite the bullet. And with that comes a lot of good benefits. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later for the people who have had experiences with A-List. But as far as dining at Disney Springs, you all have done that pretty recently, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a quick question about the other though. When you're a member, can you do freely like dine in or 3D movies, or is there a limit on that or no?
No, so that's what my thought was, because I'm like, this sounds too good to be true. Like, this can't include dine-in, this can't include Dolby, this can't include 3D. We probably have to pay a little bit extra for them, but no. It's regular seating, Dolby, any kind of experience except for like some of the Broadway stuff and some of like the special event type stuff, like when they have like a boxing match or something like that. That isn't typically included, but all regular movie experiences they are. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, Craig, you've done dining recently too, right?
I'm assuming you probably asked me a question. I actually lost my internet
Oh,
in the
okay.
middle of all that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
That's the bonus of being live, because obviously we're live. So I see chat coming through right now, and we will take some questions from chat a little bit later. But yeah, so I'll just start here with the dining experiences at AMC, specifically Disney Springs. Now I know Denny will be able to talk on this a little bit later as far as other locations are concerned, but I have never done AMC Dine-In at any other theater, so all of my experience here all takes place in the actual Disney Springs theater. Now, my wife Haley loves the food here. We, again, go all the time, and a huge selling point to going to the movies for her is the dine-in portion of it. She loves the wrap. She loves the tots. Now, I cannot say the same for the food here. I've tried multiple different things at this point. The buffalo chicken sandwich I've gotten, and it was quite good. But a buffalo chicken sandwich isn't necessarily what I want to be eating when I'm trying to enjoy a movie. I much would rather have finger food, things easier to eat, not trying to keep myself from getting messy while biting into a sandwich. So I've tried things like, the wings, the chicken tenders, and they're just, I don't know, they're just not that good to me. I often find myself, when we go to AMC Dine-In, opting to grab quick service beforehand, like going maybe like 30 minutes before and grabbing Wolfgang or Chicken Guy or something like that, and just letting Haley get the dine-in and I would eat beforehand. Just because, like I've gotten, like, so the chicken fingers, to me taste like I had ordered, or I had gotten chicken fingers from like a pub, brought them home, and then the quality and the consistency of the chicken fingers are that of my leftovers after I put them in the oven. They very dried out, and just feel like they were cooked and recooked. I can't confirm or deny that's what actually happens, but that's what they taste like. And I've gotten them on 3 different occasions, all trying to give it a different go, and every time not so great. And the wings for me weren't much better. But again, I'm just one person. This is just my opinion on the different things that I've tried. And like I said, my significant other loves it. So what do you guys think? What are your experiences with food at Disney Springs?
For me, I've tried their crispy shrimp, and yes, it's just your standard fried shrimp, and of course it's not. Of course, this isn't hand battered. This isn't what you would get at another restaurant. It's just fried shrimp, and they did an okay job on those. The Southern style chicken tenders, I've had those as well. I like the honey Dijon sauce that they come with. The flatbread to me is really the standout. So that's what I had most recently. I kind of looked at the menu and went, okay, let's pick the lesser of all these evils. And I just went with the flatbread, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. But Fiasco, I'm kind of like you. If my husband and I are going to see a movie, we do dine in if we have to. But we'll swing by Chicken Guy and grab Chicken Guy before. I mean, that's our preferred, quick grab and then go see a movie.
Yeah.
Meal.
Absolutely.
Swinging by there first. So.
Well, I have actually never eaten the food at dine-in. I frequent the dine-in theaters very often, and if I order anything, I'll get a beer, or if I'm with multiple people, maybe a bottle of wine and just split it. But I don't care for the food. I think movies are meant to be like to zone in on them. That's why stuff like popcorn is perfect for movies, because you can share popcorn without distracting other people. There's nothing worse than watching like a really dramatic movie, and right when it hits that moment where like you are meant to cry, then you have that one person who is ignoring the movie and calls the waiter over, and the waiter will just come over and start screaming because it's like they choose not only the tallest waiters to walk past the screen, but then also the loudest ones too. So I refuse to eat in there just because I don't like when it disrupts my movie experience. I wouldn't want it to disrupt anyone else's too. But one of the greatest things about Disney Springs is, in the AMC theater in particular, is that you can actually bring in anything you want there. So we keep mentioning Chicken Guy. Grab a bag of chicken tenders or whatever you want from Chicken Guy and your fries, and literally walk into the theater with them and just eat that. Like they genuinely don't care.
Wow.
I usually pre-drink at Splitsville sometimes, especially when they have a good deal on like happy hour prices or 2 for 1. They randomly are doing that, and just they'll give you a to-go cup, and they encourage it. They'll say, you save yourself a couple bucks, don't buy your beer there. And the first couple times I was like, no, there's no way they're going to let me do it. And then sure enough, you just walk right in. They really they just let you bring in whatever you want, Starbucks, all that. So if at the very least, there are other things around Disney Springs that I feel like you can grab and then bring into the theater, like Earl of Sandwich is another one. It's not going to be super distracting. It's unless you get like a Thanksgiving sandwich, and also not going to be like too messy to eat in there. But yeah, the stuff they actually serve at Dine-In just is not for me.
Yeah.
But the theaters are amazing now that they've all been redone. They're really top notch.
That's really good information. I didn't even know that. I always, like I said, I go to Chicken Guy or something like that before and then go. But now that I know that, I can actually eat with Haley. So that's really good information. And what you mentioned too about the distractions. That's another thing to consider if you've never done these dine-ins. Just know, like, everyone's going to need to get their check. They usually, what will happen is you'll put in your order, and then they'll take your card immediately. Or if you say you're going to pay with cash, that'll be done later. But then your check will come, and usually it comes at a really inconvenient time in the movie, like in like the last 15 minutes when they're starting to wrap everything up. And like, I remember, no spoilers, but the last movie we saw at Dine-In was Onward, and it was right at that scene with I won't say what it is, but it was the rock guy. If you guys have seen Onward, you know what I mean by the rock guy, the rock monster. Right at that scene is when all the checks were coming. And it's like, this is like a big part of the movie. Like, I'm missing it right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who went to Dine-In Theater and saw A Quiet Place when that was out, and it was I can't imagine. I didn't go see it with him, but I was like, oh my god, I can't imagine seeing A Quiet Place for this experience. So
that's awesome.
I had actually done Dine-In Theater. It wasn't with AMC. I had always done it in Puerto Rico. I always went there on vacation, and they have a really one of the theaters in San Juan is really, really nice, and it's this whole experience. So like you order beforehand, and you get things like chicken Alfredo, or you can get steak. You can get lots of other types of dishes that are a little more high end, and they're extremely nice chairs. You have like the tray that kind of folds out like on an airplane, but a little nicer than that. So that was my only experience with it, and it was always great. And I had never done AMC, so I tried that one. And I was like, I'm kind of like in front of this desk with the light on the whole time, and it was really inconvenient, and I just didn't care for it that much. I didn't like the food either. It wasn't enough for me to be like, hey, at least the food's really good, so I could come back and order it again. And I understand the price being a bit higher just because they have to use up so much space on, it's like flying first class or whatever, that you have to pay for that extra space that you're using. But it might be a good investment if somebody was in the A-List club, and that would be a good way. Even if they can use it at home, I assume you can still use it at Disney. Like, you can use it at any AMC, or is that only for this particular one?
So you said for A-List?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. So A-List does have exclusions. They're very limited, but it just so happens to be that it excludes Massachusetts, California, and I think one or two other states. Massachusetts and California stuck with me because those are the two states I'm most likely to also be at. So I miss out on that, but still really worth it.
That's only half true. You can, even though we live in Florida, we can opt to pay the rate that they pay in California and Massachusetts, which I think is closer to $26, where ours is $23. So we could, if we wanted to, we could pay the higher rate and have no worries about it. But then the next line is, like, I think some areas without as heavy traffic, like maybe Ohio, I'll use that as an example. There, you're only going to pay $19.99 for it. Yep. So like, that's how it fluctuates. For us, it's not as big of a jump, but for someone who's maybe in one of those cheaper states to then want no limits on that, then they can. And even then, I think they give you maybe once or twice a year. They give you, even if you buy one of the cheaper versions, they give you like a special where you can use it once if you just happen to be in California for Christmas or at home for Christmas and you're not in that level. So I can't remember all the details on it, but I know for a fact you can buy the more expensive one, and if you want it, but like for us, it's
Awesome.
kind of silly.
Really good point. And a couple more benefits I wanted to mention. So you get perks. You get at our AMC. I don't know if every single one does this, but at AMC Disney Springs, you have a VIP line, which especially on nights like Friday night, which is often when we end up going to movies, is a really good perk because the lines can get long, and you can get priority there. Also, instead of, we all know how expensive movie soda, movie popcorn is, and with this program with A-List, it's no less expensive, except for you're able to get the large drink and large popcorn for the same price as the mediums, which is really, really good. No catch there, just you get free upgrades to larges and free refills on them. As well, when you spend money, you get points. And those points can be redeemed for $5 vouchers. You do that right there. You'd want to, if you had A-List, you're going to want to download the app, and you'll be able to redeem your $5 vouchers right there. And like Craig mentioned earlier, popcorn is my hands down snack of choice. Every time we go to the movies, even if I eat Chicken Guy or something like that before, and Haley's getting Dine-In, I'm always going to get that large popcorn. And that fountain drink, orange vanilla Coke, is what I get every single time. And Haley even mentions to me, like, even if I'm having, like, not the best day, once I get that popcorn and that Coke in my hand, she says I just have the biggest geekin' smile on my face, and my entire day always turns around no matter what's going on when I get that popcorn and an orange Coke in my hand, which brings me to my question is, for you guys here, Craig, Denny, and Sean, what is your go-to movie theater snacks of choice, drinks included? And for the chat as well, joining us here, hanging out with us, over 400 people right now, what are your everybody's snacks of choices when you're at the movies?
Mine personally is popcorn, and with just a little bit of butter, not a ton of butter, just a little bit. And I just want water, because if I'm in a movie, I'm not going to guzzle something down that's huge, because I don't want to have to get up and run to the restroom. I want to see the movie. And just real quick, something that both Sean, you and Craig mentioned was the seating arrangement. Like, for those who haven't been at the Dine-In Theater at AMC at Disney Springs, it used to be this skinny little, almost conference-style table that you would have to sit up awkwardly to try to eat your food in a not too disruptive way with neighbors around you during the movie. And it's dark, and that was very awkward, and you're in these huge leather reclining bucket seats, so very, very awkward. They've since redone everything, and it's the fold-out tray that comes from the side, which is really kind of nice. I found that a whole lot easier to sit and eat in last time, although you are still kind of reclined in that seat. So just know that it might be a little weird, but it's a whole lot better now than it was.
Yeah, because now they're actually real recliners, whereas before it was just your standard movie theater seat, and they've converted all the dine-ins to AMC-style recliners. So I know they vary by movie theaters, but theirs are very similar to Cinemark. But if you've been in the Dolby Theater at Disney Springs, these are not those ones. Those are still completely different. Not to really confuse everyone on it, but I think they're a great setup. And yeah, you don't have to recline while you're eating if you don't want to, and then you can. But it is overall for dine-in, I think it's a much better setup. But back to the snackage question on there. Mine is, of course, popcorn. Unlike Denny, I have to have a ton of the fake movie theater butter in it, because that's the whole point. Like go to the movie and dump so much artificial butter on there that you're your arteries are going to clog. It's just fantastic. But I like to take it to the next level too. We will buy Bunch of Crunch, and if I'm feeling real frisky, I pour the Bunch of Crunch directly into the bucket, and so I have the sweet and salty. If not, let's still eat them separately, but I like when you mix it all together and just grab a big handful and you get that mix. But I also, unlike Denny, I actually don't drink water when I'm in movies. It's like one of the rare times, not to get personal, water goes right through me. So if I am drinking anything, it has to be a soda, because I need to make sure that I'm not getting up to go to the restroom. So I'll have a very small soda, but not a lot. And it just depends what mood I'm in. If it's a Sprite or Coke Zero or whatnot.
Mad respect on that Bunch of Crunch. Yeah, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much in the same boat as Craig with that. I usually do popcorn with peanut M&Ms, and then I'll blend that together. So that's usually my mix. I've never gotten Bunch of Crunch before. I don't even know what that is. So I may have to try it, I guess.
You've also never had a hot dog before, so
I've heard of them, but I've never even heard of Bunch of Crunch. So I'll have to try that for sure. But it's the other alternative, if I'm not wanting this entire thing of popcorn myself, if no one else is wanting anything, I do like the deal on the kids packs that come with the popcorn, the really small drink, and a Nerd's rope or something like that. It's $5 or $6, I think, for a pretty good amount of stuff that you get. A lot of times those kids meals come with a great amount of food. That's what I get at Wolfgang Puck Express too. So I get the kids meals there, so you can get a lot of food there.
Kids meals are awesome.
And just looking at the chat right now, popcorn and soda is definitely the most prevalent, the most popular option, which can be assumed. But there are some other stuff. Brian Sunderly here in the chat says his go-to snack is Twizzlers. And then we also have some picks for That Crazy Guy, Sour Patch Kids. There's a pick for Junior Mints, Milk Duds, a nice variety of different selections here. Somebody said a Tupperware full of chicken. Well, now that we know what we know, thanks to Craig, and we're able to bring in whatever we want, I guess that is a possibility of eating a Tupperware full of chicken.
Rolling with your chicken.
Absolutely.
I want to know if Fiasco knows that Brian Sunderly is Denny's husband.
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. It was just complete coincidence. Complete coincidence that I decided to say his name. And yeah. Yep.
Never
hey,
heard
Brian.
Yeah, it's nice that they just let people do that now. Because when I was a kid, it was always this whole thing of my grandmother popping popcorn at home and putting it in Ziploc bags to bring it in her purse. So and it was a whole thing of her praying she didn't get caught trying to smuggle in popcorn or candy from the Dollar General, that kind of stuff, to bring into a movie theater just because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now that I'm grown, I understand why the stuff is so expensive at the movie theater, because of their that's the only way they make money, really. But
right.
So I get it now, but I was a kid then, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, my first actual job, it was actually my second, but that's another long story for a different day. My first actual job in high school was AMC Theaters. I worked at AMC. I worked there for a long time, almost 3 years going through high school and then fresh out of high school. And that was a huge thing. It was a big deal, is not letting people in with concessions, because if you didn't know, like Sean just mentioned, the whole reason why concessions are so expensive at movies is because that is their biggest line of profit. A chunk of the movie ticket sales, that goes into the film industry. The theater doesn't really, that's not going to alone sustain the theater is ticket sales. They really need those concession prices. So that's surprising. I guess AMC Disney Springs is an exception to the rule. And maybe not even so, because this is definitely a lesser known fact. Most people probably didn't know about that trick.
That's a game changer completely.
Well,
Everything is different
I
now.
see them doing it because it's at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
I mean, because I fully expect at this point, like, if I buy a beer where T-Rex, I guess, I don't know, wherever I'm at, I expect at this point at Disney Springs, I'm going to be able to carry this thing wherever I want, as long as I'm within the perimeter of Disney Springs.
Exactly.
So it may just be isolated more so to that one, but it's a good perk.
Yeah.
At least.
And that's the weird part of the dine-in there, though, is that while they will let you bring in anything, and watch, they're gonna, as soon as they reopen Disney Springs, they're gonna crack down and they're not gonna let you anymore. But like, the weird part is at Disney Springs, there's at the AMC theater, there's signs as you leave the theater saying you're not allowed to take the alcohol you purchase inside the theater outside. But also, I never see anyone enforcing that either. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
I will say I really like the milkshakes there. I like them to the point that I've just stopped in before and just ordered a milkshake at that bar area at the Dine-In Theater. It is the most unhealthy milkshake in the world. I think one of them is like 11 or 1,200 calories maybe for one. So like for a small one, it's insane. Like I don't even know how they made it that unhealthy, but it's amazing. So if you ever have a day where you've literally not had any calories for a few days and you want to splurge, that's a good one.
That's high praise coming from you because you love your milkshakes.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, one quick note about A-List. So my husband has A-List and I don't, but because he has A-List, he can make reservations for movies online and can purchase my ticket at no extra service fee or anything in advance, and it's super convenient. So there's a little bit of a bonus perk that goes along with it, even if you aren't an A-lister yourself. You've got someone who's going with you who is. It's kind of nice that they can do that.
And that's good that they can, because like for me, I'm an annual pass holder, so I can't get my discount at the computer screens outside or any, and since I'm not in the A-list, I can't get in the short line. So if I want to see a movie, I have to wait in the full length line in order to get my discount. And after a while, I'm just like, it makes me more, picking out which theater I'm going to go to instead. I may not pick Disney Springs at that point because I'm like, well, between the discount and all that, whereas if I just had that locked in, I would just always choose to go there.
So just to take a few questions from the chat right now, I posted in there and it looks like we have a few coming through. So we'll start off with this one. What is everybody's favorite movie? On top of that, we also have what is everybody's favorite movie that they've seen at AMC Dine-In Disney Springs. So the first question is a little bit tougher for me for my favorite movie because I compare movies a little bit differently. I'll tell you, my favorite Disney movie is going to have to be Tangled. I just love Tangled so much. And as far as my favorite movie that I've seen in AMC Disney Springs, it's going to have to be Parasite. Parasite that just came out. It won so many awards, and it's in Japanese, or no, it's in Japanese, right? Or is right?
Korean.
It's Korean. All right, it's in Korean, but it has subtitles, and it won so many awards, and that's what urged me to go see it, and it was just incredible. One of the best movies I've seen in a long time. But what about you guys?
My all-time favorite Disney movie is, the poster of it is right behind me. I've got two posters. I'm going to pan right there. So, yay, it's Ratatouille. I love Ratatouille. And had the privilege of seeing it on the big screen. Didn't see it on the big screen when it was initially released, but a handful of years ago, they did a re-release of some of the big Pixar movies, some of the big Disney movies, and I got to go back and see it, which was fantastic. I loved it. And is it favorite movie that we've seen in the Dine-In Theater, Fiasco? Is that what you're saying?
it could just be any movie that you saw at that theater recently. Yeah.
Good heavens. Well, our my husband and I have our favorite seats in the Dolby Theater, which that's our very favorite. If you've never seen a movie in the Dolby Theater, please, as soon as they're open again, run. Do not walk to your nearest. Dolby J1 and J2 are our favorite seats. Thank you. And I would what, Craig? What?
No.
They're so good.
1 and 2, you were all the way on the side.
Exactly. That's what we love. There's, you have easy in and out access from the aisle. We love it. And it was probably Rise of Skywalker. It was my favorite recently.
Well, at least I know I never have to worry about Denny taking my seats at the Dolby Theater because I'm not. Row J is way too far back for that theater. You need to be. I would say the prime rows are either pretty much F or G, and you can still fully recline, and your eye level is perfect with the screen. Because I want to be. If I'm paying for recliners, which I guess I'm not technically because I'm A-List, but if I'm in the recliners, I want to be fully reclined back. I want to look like a grandpa sleeping essentially through the movie, even though I'm not. Has happened a couple times though. Okay, I'm not going to answer the Disney portion because I can't even think of it off the top of my head. I would have to say 3 or 4 or 5, but I have 2 experiences at the dine-in that have always been left with me. The first was, it would have been 2003. My family was on vacation the same week at Walt Disney World that Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Pearl came out, and we hadn't really paid attention to anything involving it. We saw maybe 1 or 2 of the trailers, but didn't pay attention to it and gave it any credit leading up to its release. But then we went on opening night at Disney Springs because it was just, we had nothing else to do. That was an off day, so we went, and it was insane. Think about how much people love that movie now. To just happen to be there the night it came out at Disney Springs, being in Walt Disney World, coming down from Pennsylvania, it felt like we were part of the revolution. That then eventually made that movie the hit it was. So that I will never forget seeing that movie at Disney. I will forget probably the rest of them one day, but that memory still sticks with me 17 years later, which is disgusting enough to think that movie's been out that long now. But in recent memories, it was one of the worst movies I've ever watched. But I went to see a house with a clock in its walls.
Oh
Disney
my!
Springs.
It looked really bad.
It was so freaking bad. It was terrible. It was awful. But I went with. It was one of those moments. I went to the movie, and it just so happened that I saw my friend's car there. And so we were I was like, what are you seeing? And he's like, I'm seeing this. I was like, I'm also seeing this. So we switched our seats to sit beside each other. And I think 3 minutes into it, we're like, this is garbage. We want to leave. But we stuck through it to the very end. So that's a fond memory of a bad movie that I saw at Disney.
Well, at least you had a friend to share the misery.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Actually, the very first time I went to Disney World was in 2006. My family, we always kind of did the same thing. We always went for 4 days in the park, so we just did one park each day. And the first day we came in, we always went to what was Downtown Disney at the time. And the very first time we ever went, we happened to show up on opening day for Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. And so we went and saw it then. We liked the first one better, but it was still, so that just reminded me of that whenever Craig was telling his. I was like, oh yeah, I had that same experience with a different Pirates movie at Disney. Weirdly enough, the best movie I can remember seeing at AMC was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They did this special release, and it happened to be this one day that somebody was like, oh, let's go to the movies. And as a joke, I picked this movie by somebody called Riff Tracks, and I had never heard of it. And it was like Riff Tracks, Santa Claus meets the Ice Cream Bunny. And I picked it because I was like, that sounds really, really stupid. And like, I'm going to pick this just as like a whatever kind of thing. And it ended up being one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And it was essentially these very old Christmas movies, but like the really cheesy, like D-list movies that you've never seen. And they're all pretty short. And it was these people who were like improv people that would make jokes over what was happening. So it was essentially on mute, and they would live fill in the voices of what was happening. And it was really, really funny. And I don't usually go to improv stuff or anything, but I was like, maybe I could get into this. I don't know. But it was great. And it was like a one-time thing they were doing.
Yeah, it's Riff Tracks is more people would know of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Riff Tracks, same idea. And Sean, if you enjoyed that, if you don't have Pluto TV downloaded on like your Apple TV or whatever, don't have the app for that, get Pluto TV. It's a free cable alternative solution, and they have a Riff Tracks channel on that just plays Riff Tracks movies 24 hours a day. So
I was shocked at how good it was. So that's the best movie I've seen there, because it was such a shock. Usually I go see what I want to see, but that was the one time I was like, I'll branch out and see this random movie. But it was great.
Cool.
So another little question here that is a little off topic, but seeing as we can bring food in, I guess it could apply. But what is everybody's favorite wings in Walt Disney World? Mine would have to probably be a Polite Pig, especially around the holidays. Their apple spiced chicken wings are incredible, but even just their wings that they have during the regular time of year are great too. What about you guys?
I do not eat chicken wings. It's just not my. It's a thing. I don't do a lot of meat on the bone going on. So if it's not boneless, skinless, no, thank you.
I don't think I've had chicken wings at Disney Springs that I can remember. I am a really, really, really big Hooters fan, so I go to Hooters quite a lot for a normal human being. So I tend to stick to what I know there, and that's where I go.
Man. Have you tried Hurricane?
Yep.
Hurricane ones?
I have. Yeah,
that's my jam.
I don't know.
Craig,
I don't have an answer.
Oh, okay.
I eat wings. I just don't. I mean, I eat at Disney Springs and at Walt Disney World for work. I do not choose to eat there for pleasure. So maybe on like a special occasion, Kylie and I will choose one of our favorites and go, but I don't. It's nothing against it, but it's Disney food when you start having it to the extent that we have it. And I really don't want to sound like that person, but Disney food is not as great as it feels like when you're making the memories of being there on vacation. When you're a local, except some of those very signature places, a lot of Disney food is just like it's just as any food you can find off property, sometimes less good but more expensive. So,
yeah, I agree. You gotta like something. If I like something enough that I'll take my family when they're in town, like if I'm like, we have to go out of our way to go have a meal at this restaurant at Disney, that's the most time that I go. I mean, I do happen to have people in a lot, so it happens a lot, but I don't ever have days where I'm just like, I would love Maya Grill over at Coronado or something. You know, I'm never going to go pop in for anything like that. So
I'm not too sure anybody says, oh, I would love Maya Grill.
No.
Yeah, I think like for me, even though this is really going off topic, like the three things that could get me onto property, no matter what, if it was suggested for food places, I would go out of my way for Hoop-de-Doo every single time. I would always go out of my way for Hollywood Brown Derby. And then the wild card choice would actually be the Barn Grill at Coronado Springs, the Three Lakes, Three Lagos, Tres Lagos. I forget what exactly it's called, but the burger that they serve there is my favorite hamburger cheeseburger in Florida.
Really?
Of anywhere. Yes, it is incredible.
I actually just remembered. I love the wings at Sebastian's over at Caribbean Beach. Their wing appetizer is so good. I can't remember what the sauce is that's on it, but it's really, really good. People haven't been there. And you can also get it at that outside pool bar area outside the restaurant. So if you don't have a reservation or whatever, because I remember when Pete and I stayed at Riviera, I was like, I don't know where to go eat because there was the one quick service, but it really wasn't that great. And so it was just as quick essentially for me to walk over to Caribbean Beach from Riviera and just order what I wanted to order from the outside bar. And I was like, I'd rather go walk and get those wings than eat the quick service at Riviera.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I differ from Craig in this fashion because even we go to Disney to eat for work and the dining shows and stuff like that, but that's often where me and Haley do go for pleasure as well. I would take a Disney dinner over like any of the other places I've tried really locally, but at the same token, I have not lived in Florida nearly as long as Craig and some of the others. So, I mean, there could be a point where I'm like, yeah, I could not go to Disney every week to eat dinner. I'm just not there yet. Still have my places. When the parks are, of course, opened, I find myself at the Wave weekly. Like, literally once a week I'm at the Wave. I haven't been to Sebastian's in a while, partially due to the fact that Haley's not the hugest fan of Sebastian's, but for a bit there, we were going to Sebastian's quite a bit. But yeah, we eat out at Disney quite frequently. Now, one more question that I got from Brian Sunderly is: Has a movie ever been so bad that you just walked out of it? Or do you always just?
I was actually going to ask that earlier.
Yeah.
So.
Or do you always stick it out? Now, usually, I will always just stick out the movie, even if I'm not into it, because I want to see it to its conclusion. Unless I I honestly have other things to do. There has been times where I have left the movie because I'm like, this really stinks, and I have other things I really could be doing right now, and I have bounced. But usually 99% of the time I try to stick the movie through to its conclusion, so I can actually know if it was good or not. But what about you guys?
I have never gotten up and left a movie. I unless I'm forgetting something from the past, I'll have to ask my husband when we're done. But I don't think I have.
I can't think of a time. I mean, usually, at least if it's bad, I can be like, this is very ironically bad, because I remember watching some stuff like A Simple Favor and like Age of Adeline and stuff where I was like, this is really bad, but like I'm going to stick it out and just see what happens and then talk about it afterwards and see like what's going on. But my dad, right before I moved to Florida, my mom was like, I want us to all go do something together as a family because, this is probably the last time we'll do something like this for a while. And so he was like, okay. So my mom was like, I want to go to the movies. And my dad hated going to the movies because he was just like, I don't like that. He also was like almost 7 feet tall. So it's always a lot of spacing issues for him. And so we sat like on the first row and we went to see Frozen because that was what was out at the time. And so of course it was a musical on top of everything else, and he was not feeling it at all. He stuck through as long as he could, and then when the Trolls came out and started singing, the music started and so loud in the theater, he was like, well, I'm out. I'll be in the car. He just stood up and just left. Like that was all you saw of him, and everybody in the theater started laughing because they just like knew what was going on. And yeah, he was gone. I was like, okay, well, should we stay? Or what? And my mom's like, we're staying. Like, we're not going anywhere. I'm like, okay, well, Dad left, so Frozen's too much for him.
It was the singing trolls that was his tipping
The
point.
trolls tipped it because he was just like, I just didn't think we could have any more of this. And then like now they're singing too. I'm done. So
Awesome.
I've never walked out of a theater. So there's been 2 times that I've come close to. The latest one was probably the Slender Man movie that came out a year or 2 ago. That thing was so awful. Sorry, I've screwed up what I wanted to say the first time. I've never walked out of a movie because of how bad it was. I have walked out of a movie when someone's being disruptive, and I've switched a ticket to another showtime, but I've never walked out solely and said, no, I'm never giving this movie another chance, but been very close. So I probably did go when I would go to the drive-in back in Pennsylvania a couple times, just drive away from a movie if we got bored. But that's a different scenario.
Yeah.
You usually pay for the first movie, and then you just sit through the second as a consolation gift if you want it. But
All right, so we are gonna wrap this up here. I wanted to plug real quick because we got Frozen as an early release on Disney Plus. That was awesome, but also we are getting Onward. If you haven't seen Onward yet, but it's not going to be on Disney Plus. You're going to be able to pay to rent it. It is $19.99.
It'll be on Disney Plus on the 3rd of April.
Yep. So. Yeah, so on the 3rd of April is going to be free for streaming, or is that the $19.99 price?
It's available this evening starting at 5 p.m. Pacific on Movies Anywhere for $19.99, and then it'll be part of the regular Disney Plus streaming package on the 3rd of April.
That's so weird. So, just wait.
Yeah. Just
don't pay $20 for a rental. Just wait. Yeah.
Yeah, people were so, some of the response on our Facebook post about the news this morning, people were actually saying, you know what, even big companies like Disney need our support during this time. And so some of them were saying, absolutely, I'm waiting, that kind of thing, can't wait till the 3rd. But then others were saying, hey, I'm getting it tonight, and they can have my $19.99 because, this was just released on March 6th. It is not going to do what Disney and Pixar planned for this movie to do.
Yeah.
And so they saw it as a way to support.
That's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. Anybody got anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today for this live episode of the Disney Dining Show. To everybody in chat, thanks so much for joining along. Thank you for your questions. If we missed your question, do not be too fret. Don't fret. We're going to be live plenty more times in the coming days and coming weeks, and you'll have a chance to fire off that question again. But like always, these videos are brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. Check that in the description below as well. You could check out our Patreon account and watch my little at-home episodes of the Not at Disney Dining Show. They're little spoof videos I made of what Haley made me for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on any given day. And they're just fun little spoofs on the Disney Dining Show. So check those out. That's for the $10 and up tier. You also got Rhino's Diz Pop show for the $5 and up tier. And you also have Pete's Solo show that's also on the $10 and up tier. Early releases on the $25 tier. And then just posts on any other given day with some behind the scenes content for everybody. But as always, thanks again everybody for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode of the Disney Dining Show. Bye.